Welcome. Okay, in this video we're going to go over a basic deadlift and cover some tips to help you be successful and go over some common problems. So let's get to it.
First thing to focus on when approaching the bar is not having the feet too far ahead of the bar. Try to get the bar over the shoelaces, but not so close that it is against the shins before you grab it. This will place the bar too far away from the hip. When setting up, place the heels directly under the hips and the shoulders just outside of the knees. Drive forcefully through the floor and bring the hips to the bar. A common mistake when setting up the deadlift is placing the feet too wide, which forces the hands to go even further outside of the bar and inhibits the ability to get into a good hip position to start the lift. There is also a tendency to let the arms drift over the knees, which encourages the same problem of driving that bar out ahead of the feet. When setting up from the side, drop straight down to the bar. Do not try to reach for the bar, but instead let the hands meet the bar. Drive the feet through the floor and get the hips under the shoulders. During your setup, make sure that your hip is at the same angle as the lower leg, or approximately at the same angle as the lower leg. Another common problem is having the hips too high and the shoulders too far ahead of the bar, which forces one to lift with the lower back rather than properly using the hips and the legs to move the weight. Here you can see that shoulder is drifting so far over the bar and the hip is at roughly the same height as the shoulder. And there we can see the shoulder blades directly over the bar, encouraging proper lifting mechanics, as opposed to this lower back lift that we can see here. Another common problem is to sit the shoulders in the reverse position too far behind the bar. This forces the bar to drift out away from the knees and needs to move around the legs in order to get to the finished position. The hips are too far away from the bar to be efficient, and this places unnecessary stress on the lower back. Another common problem is at lockout, hyperextending the lower back and placing unnecessary stress on the lower back itself. Focus on simply bringing the hips to the bar. Another common problem is shrugging up at the top. You want to keep the shoulder blades down during the entire lift. To recap the setup of a solid deadlift, you want to have the lower leg approximate the angle of the hip, and notice that my neck is not hyperextended, but is rather also in a neutral position along with the spine. When I set up, the first movement that you want to make is driving those feet into the ground and keeping the torso angle the same, or roughly the same, until the bar crosses the knees. So I do not want the shoulders to rise or the hips to rise independently of one another. After the bar crosses the knees, I can bring the hips through by squeezing the glutes, and at this time, the hip angle will change. Until that moment, the hip angle should remain roughly the same as it was during the starting position, as the primary movement is happening at the legs. Here we can see this slowed down and focus on where my back angle is until that bar crosses the knees and my knees are out of the way of the bar. Also notice that my neck is remaining in a neutral position during the entire lift rather than craning up toward the sky.
And that's all there is to it. Just follow those simple steps and you'll be successful with doing the deadlift. Keep working on the lift and focus on getting stronger and have fun.